Welcome to the Wishing You Well podcast, your weekly dose of health and wellness ideas and inspiration to help you to live your best, longest, healthiest, and most wonderful life. This is your host, Maria Patrick. I am a health and wellness coach and a Qigong instructor, and I specialize in helping people to improve their health through exercise, nutrition, and lifestyle improvements. I'm always on the lookout for current stories and research studies for health and wellness inspiration. Today, I would like to talk to you about your 100th birthday party. I want you to not only be able to blow out all of the candles on your cake, but also be able to dance to your favorite songs and work the room to greet your guests. Spoiler alert, I'm going to be encouraging you to start training for your very own personal Centenarian Decathlon. More about that very important topic later. But first, did you hear about the German study that recently appeared in the Journal of Psychology? The result of the study is that 70 is the new 60. The study was published in the American Psychological Association's journal, Psychology and Aging, and the results were released last week, which found that people in their mid-60s believe that old age does not begin until the age of 75. This is a higher number than those who were asked the same question years ago. The study was conducted by researchers at the Humboldt University in Berlin, Germany. They analyzed data from 14,000 participants in what became known as the German Aging Study. They asked the participants, who were born between the years 1911 and 1974, at what age would you describe someone as old? The participants were posed the question 8 times over 25 years from 1996. Those born between the years 1911 and 1935 thought that old age started earlier in someone's 50s and 60s, compared to the participants born after 1935 who thought that old age was most definitely after you celebrated your 75th birthday. The difference in their viewpoints is not just a generational divide. The study showed that as people got older, closer to their 70s, they kept pushing their answer about what age is considered old to a higher number. This is such great news and proves what many of us have thought for such a long time, that age is merely just a number. It is not an indication of what your health and well-being will be when you reach a particular milestone. And we also now know that people are feeling younger than their age. How old you feel or what age you consider to be old is less impacted by science and more directly connected to your vitality and longevity activities. Interestingly, per the study, women apparently perceived that old age started later than men did. The status of people's physical and mental health also affected the outcome. Those taking part in the study who were in poorer health, who were dealing with chronic diseases, and who were lonelier were the ones who reported that old age began earlier. We know to be true that life expectancy numbers have changed for the better over the years. People are living longer and they're staying healthier longer. For the most part, doctors who specialize in longevity say that the first thing to decline is our physical health, specifically our strength, mobility, and flexibility, followed later in life by declines in our cognitions. What we need to do is ensure that our behavior today brings us the results we want for our tomorrows. That brings me to the very important concept of the Centenarian Decathlon. I first heard about this idea, training for our own personal decathlon, which will take place when we turn 100, or actually the years leading up to it, from Dr. Peter Attia, who wrote the book Outlive, The Science and Art of Longevity. I recently read this book from cover to cover, and it's so full of helpful information that I got out a notebook and started taking copious notes. I felt like the book was a masterclass on longevity, but not just living longer, which we know means having a longer lifespan, but it's also about our health span, which means living a life of quality, vitality, and strong health. Dr. Attia says in his book that for overall health, we need to focus on nutrition and exercise. So no surprises there. We already knew about that. What I found fascinating was when he said that in order to live longer and better, in other words, outlive, that you have to not only exercise regularly 30 minutes a day for 5 days a week, which he says is the most powerful longevity drug of all, but that we have to be able to do specific exercises. We need to supplement our regular, moderate intensity aerobic activities with strength training exercises, which target all the major muscle groups. He says that in order to live a longer and healthier life, we need to increase both our muscle mass and our strength. Having more muscle mass and stronger muscles helps to support and protect our bodies as we get older, and it also helps us to maintain our metabolic health because those muscles will consume energy efficiently. It will also help us to increase our body's production of endorphins, which will generate molecules known as cytokines, which strengthen our immune system and stimulate the growth of new muscle and stronger bones. So, what does this mean for us? It means that in addition to walking, running, cycling, swimming, practicing Qigong and yoga, whatever it is that you're doing, all of which help us to strengthen our heart, increase our endurance, and improve our memory and cognition by generating BDNFs for the brain, which will keep our brain healthy by preserving its volume. We also need to start lifting weights if we are not already doing so. This is what will increase our skeleton bones, which are the ones that keep us upright and intact and prevent muscle atrophy and loss. We need to be doing things that will make us stronger, improve our balance, and reduce the risk of falling. Dr. Attia uses the same approach with all of his patients. He asks them what activities they want to be able to do for the rest of their lives, and he helps them to identify the top 10. These 10 become the events for their personal Centenarian Decathlon. You want to think about the things that you want to still be able to do when you are 100. Simple things that you need or want to be able to do in your daily life, but also the things that you want to be able to enjoy doing. Dr. Attia's personal list, which doesn't have to be our list, is very helpful to hear. It includes the basic things that he wants to be able to still do that may seem trivial, but they are important because they include mobility, strength, and aerobic capacity and efficiency, all of which matter for longevity. But he also includes on his list the activities which he enjoys. So here are, in no particular order, some of the things on Dr. Attia's list. Be able to hike 1.5 miles on a hilly trail. Get up off the floor using his own power and only one arm. Pick up a 20 or a 30-pound young child from the floor. Carry 2 5-pound bags of groceries for 5 blocks. Lift a 20-pound suitcase into the airplane overhead compartment. Balance on one leg for 30 seconds with the eyes open or 15 seconds with eyes closed. Have sex. Climb 4 flights of stairs in 3 minutes. Open a jar. Swim a half a mile in 20 minutes. Walk with a 30-pound dumbbell in each hand for 1 minute. Do 5 pull-ups. Climb 90 steps in 2 minutes. Drive a race car within 5 to 8% of the pace that he can do today. Hike with a 20-pound backpack for an hour. Carry his own luggage and walk up a steep hill. In his case, Dr. Attia is a bow and arrow aficionado. So he wants to be able to draw back and fire a 50-pound compound bow. His point in mentioning that is that when you create your own personal decathlon, you should include the activities that you enjoy and want to still be able to do when you are in the last decade of your life. So for instance, if you enjoy paddleboarding, you'll want to focus on or choose events for your decathlon that are focused around building your core and cross-body strength. In every case of the items on your personal decathlon list, Dr. Attia says that you need to be doing more now. For instance, using heavier weights, going at a faster pace. This is to armor yourself against the natural and precipitous decline in strength and aerobic capacity as we age. It's important for us all to remember that octogenarians and nonagenarians and centenarians are doing so much more now. They're running marathons, they're racing bicycles, they're lifting weights, they're flying airplanes, they're jumping out of airplanes. Just remember George W.H. Bush, who jumped out of an airplane in his 90s. They're skiing the Rocky Mountains, they're competing in actual decathlons, and they are featured on the cover of fitness magazines. The Centenarian Decathlon helps us to redefine what is possible in our later years and wipe away the default assumption that most people have that we'll be weak and incapable once we hit a certain age. We need to create a new narrative. Think about Jack LaLanne, who kept doing his usual rigorous daily workout right up until his death at the age of 96. He built and maintained a high level of fitness throughout his life, and he gave us a glimpse of what an older person is truly capable of achieving. If you're like me, you maybe even bought a juicer thanks to Jack LaLanne and the inspiration that he gave us. We need to start training with a specific purpose in mind instead of just pointlessly exercising. We should consider it training to be an athlete of life. Dr. Attia also gives us a glimpse into bone mineral density, BMD, and the 4 strategies that he suggests that we need to employ to prevent decline of bone density. Number 1, optimizing nutrition, focusing on protein, getting enough of it, and our total energy needs. Number 2, doing heavy load-bearing activities, such as strength training with heavy weights. This will stimulate the growth of bone, and it will actually be more beneficial than the impact that we get from doing certain sports. Our bones respond to mechanical tension. Dr. Attia's 3rd recommendation is to take hormone replacement therapy if indicated by your doctor. And number 4, to take drugs to increase bone mass density if indicated, once again, by your doctor. Strength training is like our retirement savings account. We want to be able to reach an older age with enough of a reserve of muscle and bone density to protect us from injury and allow us to continue the activities that we enjoy so much, whether it's picking your grandchildren up off the floor or being able to still travel and carry your own luggage and get that carry-on bag up into the overhead compartment, or being able to walk briskly from one gate to the other in the event of a last-minute gate change. We've all been there. Strength training is cumulative. And what we can do to begin today, if you're not already doing so when it comes to strength training, is to work on 4 different aspects. Number 1 would be your grip strength. Doing lots of activities with your hands and training your lats, which are your large back muscles. Number 2, doing concentric and eccentric loading activities. So concentric is when your muscles are shortened, and eccentric is when they are lengthened. And we need to be able to do both. Lift the weight up and put it back down slowly and with control. Number 3, you want to train doing pulling motions at all angles from overhead to in front of you, which also, when you do pulling motions, requires your grip strength. And number 4, hip hinging movements, such as deadlifts and squats, but also step-ups and hip thruster. And doing exercises that strengthen the legs, the glutes, and the lower back. We need to focus on these 4 foundational elements of strength training because they are the most relevant to our Centenarian Decathlon, and also to be able to live a fulfilling and active life in our later decades. Having a strong grip is not only going to help you open up jars when there's no one else around, but the ability to pull means that you're still going to be able to carry your groceries, lift up heavy objects, and the grip strength is a predictor in how long you are going to live. Literally, how hard you can squeeze something using one hand. So it's a really good thing to work on. And when it comes to hip hinging activities, we're doing those now so that later we're going to be able to get in and out of bed without assistance and get up and out of a chair without someone helping us. What can you do in addition to these things that we've already discussed? Dr. Attia is a big believer in what he calls the classic farmer's carry, being able to walk for a minute with a loaded backpack or a dumbbell in each hand. He said our goal should be, at this point in our lives, to carry 75% of your weight in each hand. He said another good way to test your strength is to dead hang for 90 seconds and to regularly lift weights doing bicep curls, because not only will this improve your arm strength and upper body strength, but also your grip strength. Lastly, he calls it rucking down a hill, carrying a weighted pack. And as you walk down an incline, start out with a lower incline and then work up to being a steeper one, which also builds spatial awareness and control, which are important parts of our stability training. He says begin slowly and work up. Work with lower weights, lighter weights at a slower pace, and gradually increase as you get stronger. So, you've heard it all. Both our lifespan and health span depend upon our behavior now. There is a lot we can do, beginning with making up our own personal list of decathlon events. Training for this decathlon, which starts today, will change how you live your life and will improve your health, your strength, and your vitality. I think that as helpful as this plan is, the most important takeaway, let's go back to that study that appeared in the Psychology Journal. We also have to change our mindset. Our age really is just a number. How you think and act matter just as much, if not more, than how you feel. Let me leave you with these words from Dr. Attia. I would never want anybody to come away from this thinking, I'm too old to do anything about it. I think as long as you're breathing, you have a chance to do something about it. Very wise words from Dr. Attia. Let's get started on this together. Let's make sure we're eating well, moving more, building ourselves a social network, fully engaging our brains, and then let's start strength training our way to our 90th, 95th, and 100th birthdays. Please be sure to invite me to your party. I'll be there, and as you know, I will be wishing you well.